Be doing an analysis of Sun Tzu's Art of War. This is for the humanities class led by Professor Lillian Huerta. A basic overview of the Art of War. The Art of War was a strategy guide created by the Chinese general Sun Tzu. The aim of the text was to inform the reader of various basic truths and tactics when it came to the act of waging war against other armies and, in a sense, waging war with oneself. It is also the earliest known example of a text which tackles the subject of war strategy. The work dives into the psychological, geographical, and physical aspects of war that require addressing in order to achieve victory. What I mean by the psychological aspects of war, essentially, Sun Tzu, gave a different take to the whole overwhelming force and like physical brutality that most like ancient war tactics were just made up of. He implements a lot of things like deceiving the enemy, running away from the enemy, and in a sense, just straight up doing anything you can in order to get one over the other person. Geographically wise, he talks a lot about like knowing the terrain, and also like knowing when not to attack something if the terrain is like overwhelming. Like he makes like note of the fact like, yo, do not like attack like a super like a like walled up city. That's probably not like a direct quotation, but he makes sure to let you know, hey, if you have to cross a mountain to get to these other guys, don't do that. It's kind of dumb. Physically wise, he makes note of the fact that like, hey, like well trained troops and strong troops are always gonna outlast and out like perform the weaker troops and the ones who like don't do anything. And one of my favorite quotes from the book was, "Know the enemy and know yourself, and you can fight 100 battles with no danger of defeat." And this is Sun Tzu right here. The cultural context of the art of war. The art of war was created with the intention of its teachings influencing the political leaders and generals of Sun Tzu's era and those that came after him. It was often found within the possession of those who held positions of power within ancient China and was not meant for the common people due to the nature of its teachings and the way that they could possibly incite rebellions if read by the wrong kinds of people. The details regarding the creation of the art of war are very vague and shrouded in mystery. However, it's like largely regarded to be written near the time of the Warring States period of Chinese history, indicating that it had a large influence throughout this time of constant conquest for control over China. So nobody really knows when it was written, but something that I could gather was, hey, coincidence or not, the Warring States period was very closely related to the creation of the art of war. So, in my opinion, I feel like somebody, and by somebody I mean like a lot of people, read it and were like, well, time to try to take over China, and that led to like 7 states constantly feuding with each other for control. It's pretty cool. The contemporary significance of the work. The art of war has various messages within it that can be applied to many aspects of the present day world, whether it be the inner turmoil one holds within, the daily challenges of life, the complex and risky game of love, or even waging war against psychological or physical opponents. The art of war helps provide valuable insight within these topics. It aids us in arming us with teachings of necessary deception, hesitation, and initiative in order to achieve victory in the many battles we shall face in life. It also helps paint a picture of what kinds of skills were necessary in order to maneuver throughout the world of warring China, where power was something that was often seized through any means possible. So, what I mean by like it can just be applied to like almost anything, I feel like, you know, a vague statement can be, translated into various different teachings. So, for example, like I talk about the complex and risky game of love, like I think earlier I mentioned one of the quotes where like don't try to attack like a city that's like well fortified or something like that. So like in a stupid sense, you could be like, hey, don't go up to like a super pretty girl that has like a bunch of friends that like are giving you the look like, hey, if you come up over here, we're gonna embarrass you. Um, you know, it helps you wage war with against psychological or physical opponents in the sense like, hey, if somebody's like saying something really stupid to you, and you're like, huh, I feel like this person's actually gonna know way more about me or like notice way more like negative things about me, so I shouldn't even like try to like bicker back with them. That's the teaching of like don't find somebody stronger than you. Or physically, if you like I don't condone violence, but if you were to get in a fight, if the guy right across from you is looking at you like, oh, he's a pipsqueak, but you actually know what you're doing, that could be be strong but appear weak. And what I meant by like in a world of warring China, where power was something often to be seized through any means possible, I literally had to like, you know, point out back in the day, once again, there was 7 states just trying to fight for control of China, and I could only imagine the things that they would do in order to achieve that power. So I do believe that this book was basically like a, um, how to wage war for dummies, basically in a sense, but not for dummies. It was kind of for, you know, people who may or may not be in the crossfire of everything that's happening. And these are my sources cited, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you.